sickle, and with the anterior sickle we're only going to be sharpening one end rather than the spoon. We're going to be doing the side that has the tip. There are two cutting edges, so you have to check both of them and sharpen both of them. I'm going to start with the tip pointed towards me. When you are checking the sharpness, you're going to have your acrylic test stick in your non-dominant hand, and you want to make sure that you have your elbow on the counter. The hand that is your dominant hand, your elbow can float. It's just like when you're doing instrumentation, your arm is floating rather than being on something. This is going to be more like a tooth. When you're checking the sharpness, if I'm doing the tip towards me, I have the terminal shank behind the acrylic test stick. You can fulcrum on the side of it, you can fulcrum on the end of it. I like when the acrylic test stick is straight up and down. That way I'm able to see my angles more easily. You want to create that peekaboo. So with that terminal shank behind the acrylic test stick, I am not keeping it at 90 degrees. With the terminal shank parallel, I have to cross it behind the acrylic test stick, creating the 60 to 80 degrees. I'm going to be starting at the heel, and I'm putting lateral pressure into the acrylic test stick. I'm either going to feel it gripping it, or you'll actually hear a ping. Right here towards the tip, I can hear a ping. So I'm checking the heel third, the middle third, and then the tip. So it would be the same for the other side. I'm just turning the tip away from me, and I'm going to fulcrum either on the top or the side. The stick is still straight up and down. And rather than it being 90 degrees or the terminal shank being parallel, I am closing the face to the 60 to 80, starting on the heel 1/3, middle, and then the tip 1/3. Okay. So once I've determined if it needs to be sharpened, now I'm going to transition the instrument to my non-dominant hand. With your grasp, I want to see your thumb on the opposite shank, and whatever side I'm sharpening should be towards my dominant hand. So I'm going to be sharpening with the tip pointed away from me. I want the instrument to be straight up and down with this instrument. The face should be parallel to the floor. So because this is a simple shank and the face is 90 degrees from that terminal shank, I'm going to have the terminal shank straight up and down to 12 o'clock.
Keep that angle there because I'm right behind it. Yep.
Okay. And with your card that you have, I have a stone, but it's going to be very similar. It's going to be turned this way, so it's horizontal. I'm going to start with it pointed straight up and down as well, so that it's pointed at 12. And then I'm going to be opening it to 110 degrees. When it's up at 12, this creates 90 degrees. So I'm just opening it a little bit. If you're talking about the clock, it's going to be 3 minutes after if I'm right-handed. If I'm left-handed, it's going to be 3 minutes till. So I'm going to be starting at the heel 1/3. I'm starting with a downstroke and then up, and then I'm traveling away from me. Down again, up, and end on a down. One thing to note with an instrument that has a tip, I'm not necessarily turning the stone as I'm doing my strokes. I want to follow the taper, so it's going to be traveling, following the shape of the instrument. I want to maintain the tip. Okay, so now to do the opposite side of the cutting edge, or the working end, I'm going to turn that tip so that it's towards me. Again, terminal shank is straight up and down. I'm going to be creating that angle again. I start with it straight up and down, opening it to the 110. Now I'm going to be working towards me since the tip is pointed towards me. I'm starting at the heel 1/3, and then working to the middle, and then I'm going to the tip and ending on that downstroke. And then don't forget to wipe off that wire edge that's produced. You're going to use a gauze to wipe that off. That way you're not introducing it into the sulcus. Once you have done your sharpening, I have to recheck to make sure that it is sharp. So now I'm going to take my instrument, put it back in my dominant hand, pick up the acrylic test stick. Again, I'm going to either have the tip towards me or away from me, depending on what side I'm checking. Starting heel, middle, and then tip. And it grabbed on all of those, so that's sharp. Now I'm going to check the other side. I just transitioned it tip towards me. Now terminal shank behind the stick, creating that 60 to 80. It's grabbing, and that's it. So it's sharp.